Awesome job. All right.
Welcome. It's time to discuss all things men's ice hockey. Plus, hear our analysts share their opinion on spring sports. All this coming at you now on Bobcat Breakdown. Welcome to Studio 125. I'm your host, Matt Mugno, and tonight we have Kaylin Terry and Ben Kane joining me. Guys, how are we feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm ready to kill it here. I'm gonna beat Ben.
I'm all jazzed up. I'm just gonna win. That's about it.
We start with men's ice hockey under the bright, hot spotlight. Who is the difference maker in Friday's 3-1 semifinal victory over Colgate, Ben?
All right, so I've said TJ Friedman was my MVP for this whole tournament, really. I think he had a fantastic series. 1 goal and 1 assist. Obviously, he had the assist against Colgate, but he's been having a career year as well when you look at it. He has 8 goals, 12 assists. I think the previous 2 seasons, he only had 3, so it's been a really good season. But what he adds to this team is a bit of aggressiveness, a bit of energy off the bench. He plays on the 4th line, but as Ryan Pecknold put it in his press conference, not one line is better than the other. Every line has a different amount of depth. They bring something else to this team, where you could insert them in the first line, you could start them anytime, and they just make an instant impact. No line is really above the other. So TJ Friedman, adding that bit of depth to this team is why he was one of the best players in this series. Obviously, Quinnipiac didn't come out with the victory in this time, but he had a fantastic series and definitely one to remember for TJ Friedman.
Yeah, I definitely think that TJ has been good this entire season, but the question was who was the difference maker for Colgate? And to me, that just was not TJ Friedman. Mine, in the wise words of ECAC hockey, it's Yaniv, obviously. Yaniv Peretz, dynamic this whole year. You know, that's why he's player of the year, goalie of the year. He has these stats because of that. If you look at his save percentage, he's posting a .956 save percentage. He only allowed 1 goal against Colgate, which is what his normal goal allowed is, just under 1. He's made 25 saves in that game. TJ Friedman did well in that game. He scored a goal, but so did 2 other people. So to me, Yanni Peretz has to be it. He was, the defense was making a lot of mistakes that game, and so a lot of these the saves rested on Yanni Peretz. And made a ton of impressive saves, let up a few rebound shots, but he was always able to manage getting them under control. So mine was Yanni Peretz.
Kaylin, they say that if you can control your rebounds as a goaltender, you can control the game. Great power forward in TJ Friedman. In the ECAC semifinal, 1 goal ended the Bobcats conference championship run. What went wrong for the Bobcats against Harvard, Kaylin?
So I think their main issue was the defense. Even Rand Pecknold said that in a press conference, that their defense struggled a lot. They made many, many small mistakes in that game. You could see it kind of letting up a lot of turnovers, especially in that game. So, I think that is something that they need to work on going into these games coming up. But the offense also couldn't generate anything on net. They really struggled up against the goaltending there for Harvard against Mitchell Gibson. He was dynamic, a brick wall for them, made 47 saves. But, they use the same tactics every time to score. It's very, very predictable, especially during their power play. They set up the shot, they wait to take that shot, and you can just tell exactly where that puck is going. So they need to work on that because Gibson knew where everything was going. They should have shot sliders instead of the top shelfers. And, their power play went 1-5. As per usual, it's no surprise to us that their power play is not the greatest. They're 50th in the nation for their power play percentage. And they had a lot of opportunities. They went 1 for 5, and they had an overtime one that they could have won on, and they just weren't able to succeed. So that's what their weaknesses were against Harvard.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that you bring up both the offense and the defense when we're trying to talk about one weakness, because it just didn't seem like the Bobcats were having their best game in the situation. I like the point you brought up about the shots. That's actually kind of what I'm going to go off of here. The Bobcats, when they were shooting on goal, they were shooting from so far out most of the times that they were just getting blocked. Like you saw on the full screen before, 27 blocked shots. That's not coming if you're just sitting in the crease trying to just poke one in. It's taking those deep shots, and they just weren't able to get them on Gibson. A lot of them were going high, some were going wide, and it just wasn't really working out for them. I kind of got a little bit of a reference here. I know you guys love Wicked Tuna. I know this, right? So I've kind of called the Bobcats, they're kind of like fishermen, right? Rand is the sailor. And then you have like his helpers are Friedman, and you also have Jaden Lee, right? So first, Friedman, he goes out, he casts his net. There's a hole in the net, right? But then he starts reeling in. He's got a fish. He's all set, right? Lee throws his net out. There's another hole. What's happening? I don't know. All of a sudden, Jaden Lee, he pulls out a fish. The rock star that he is has pulled out a fish. Rand goes in for his net, and it's empty. The Bobcats lost this game. It just seemed like there were so many holes in this team where they weren't able to get it done, and I think that's why they lost.
Wow, that was a great analogy, Ben.
I know you guys love Wicked Tuna,
analogy.
so I had to bring it to the desk.
I've personally never seen Wicked Tuna before.
I haven't either. I have no idea what he's talking about.
I've just got this completely. The reference was there. I thought you guys were big Wicked Tuna people. That's okay.
I tried to follow along. I think special teams, yes, that was something that had to do with the loss. So the Bobcats faced some tough competition. Who is your all-ECAC tournament team, Kaylin?
So for me, to start with the forwards, I'll start with the forwards. My first forward was Wyatt Bongiovanni. Obviously, the captain is a team leader for this team. He leads in goals for Quinnipiac with 15. He scored against Colgate and assisted against Harvard. He was dynamic this weekend and just an all-around leader. Great in the face-off circle with 20 against Harvard. He won. I also had Joey Cipollone, Joey Cipollone at one point. He had a goal against Colgate, multiple close opportunities with Harvard, and also Matthew Coronado for the forward. He's a first year, but he's insanely impressive. He had 18 goals for the year, 2 against Clarkson and 1 against Quinnipiac, 6 points for the weekend as a total, and he's just clearly a team leader. For my defense, I had Ian Moore and Jaden Lee. Moore, impressive first year again. They have a ton of them on Harvard. He scored against Quinnipiac, had an assist, but he was dynamic in getting Q to turn over the puck, getting 4 blocks on it as well. Jaden Lee, he's not a big scorer. We haven't seen much from him this year, but he is definitely on that offensive grind. Scored the goal to send Quinnipiac to overtime against Harvard, so that was an impressive feat for him. And he's just aggressive on the defense, consistently getting the puck turned over. My goaltender, obviously, Mitchell Gibson. He's had his career high saves at 47 against Quinnipiac, only lining up 2 goals. It was just a brick wall the entire weekend. Quinnipiac couldn't figure out how to score on them. And finally, for my most outstanding player was Nick Abruzzese. He dynamic, the captain for the team. He only scored 2 goals against Clarkson, didn't score against QU, but, he was getting a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this a little bit during the game when we were there. Kind of the same team for both of us. So I had Lee, Metza, Abruzzese, Coronado, Friedman, and Yanni Peretz in goal. I want to talk a little bit about Jaden Lee. Obviously, he did score that goal to tie the game up, but I kind of predicted that. I was handing him my form, and it said right as I handed it in, he scored, and I think that's really cool. But like you said, he's adding a lot of offense to his game, which is not something we've really seen from him before, which I think is why he deserves this. Like, he's been playing well, but this just added him to that next step. And then Abruzzese and Coronado, like you said, fantastic tournaments from both of the two of them. We talked a lot to the Harvard coach about it, where this team hasn't really played much collegiately, especially last year when the Ivies weren't allowed to play. So to see 2 players come up like this and perform so well was really good. And Coronado, obviously, deservedly MVP at the tournament. I think he had 6 points in 2 games. He had 2 goals and 1 assist both times. It was a really good performance from him. As well as Metza, I felt like he just kind of held the defense down for Quinnipiac. And then Yaniv Peretz. I thought about Gibson, but I kind of like Yaniv more. I felt like he took on a lot more meaningful shots where we saw him a lot where he was on one side of the goal and he just flew to the other side. And then he was also controlling his puck, like we said in a few answered questions before, where I just thought he had a fantastic tournament. And one of the reasons he deserved this, obviously didn't get at the tournament, but he's going to get my award from this.
Great picks all around. I like the Jaden Lee pick. I like the Gibson pick. And Meta is that driving. He is a Hobie Baker finalist. So he is the driving force on that defense. St. Cloud State is an elite college hockey program. What are the X factors for the Bobcats in Friday's heavyweight tilt, Ben?
I think the Bobcats need to keep up their power kill. It's something that they've worked really, really hard on to be so good. But St. Cloud University is very good at their power play. They're at 33%, 1 goal in every 3 power plays. So it's really just going to be a battle of the power play here, trying to decide who's going to come out and perform better. But the Bobcats need to make sure that they can keep up their offense. We haven't really seen it from them in a while, and especially with Ty Smolenic, we don't know if he'll be back for this game. Although he hasn't been at his best this season, it's definitely something where if he's on, you want him on the ice and you want him playing the most minutes you can, because what you get out of him will be so crucial in this game. So it's definitely going to be an interesting game for Quinnipiac. It could be a toss-up, but I could definitely see St. Cloud kind of going through in this game and the Bobcats come back to Hamden.
Ty Smolenic has been electric this season, Caitlin. Who would be your X factor? Or what would be your X factor?
Yeah, so I think my keys to beating St. Cloud on Friday is more so going to be, as Ben kind of said, working on that power play opportunity. You know, Quinnipiac does have the #1 penalty kill in the entire nation at it's slightly better. So they're at 81%, excuse me. So, you know, they got to work on that, and they just need to keep their penalty kill up. They are up by 10% on St. Cloud, so it's really going to be a battle between the power plays and the penalty kills for this game. They also just need to figure out how to score on the goaltending in general. It's something that I've been talking about this entire night. They need to set up on the power plays more like that Jaden Lee goal to send them to overtime in Harvard. That quick off the face-off right in for the goal. It's what works for them, and it worked there. So I think that's something they need to do, be a little less predictable, and that's how they'll be able to beat St. Cloud this weekend.
If a team like St. Cloud can possess the puck and force Quinnipiac to take penalties, I feel like that's something also to watch for when we're talking about special teams. It's a long road and a packed road to the Frozen Four. How does Quinnipiac get to Boston and the Frozen Four, Ben?
Yeah, I think I kind of answered this a little bit before. It's going to be very difficult because it seems like they're just in a very hard, dry spell offensively. In their last 4 games, they've had to go to overtime twice, and we saw this against Harvard where they had to kind of react and not really play their own way of hockey, where Harvard goes up 1 and they kind of have to reshape and readjust in order to go ahead and get that goal. And then to me, after they got these goals, they just kind of seemed more lackadaisical. They weren't getting as close to the net to take those shots. So how do you keep on the front foot that quickly? It's going to be really interesting because if they can figure out a way to keep that offense so precise and so quick moving and get those shots on the net a little bit closer, they'll be able to do it. But like I said, it's trying to figure that out, and without Smolenic either, it's going to be super difficult. They get a lot of opportunities. It's just about putting them on the net a little bit lower. Try not to if you can just get it on the net, you never know what can happen. The keeper might slip up the puck, so definitely something to look at.
Yeah, I also kind of said the same thing. I think they're going to definitely struggle in this NCAA tournament. You know, if they win against St. Cloud on Friday, they take on the top seed of this entire tournament, Michigan. You know, they're #2 in the USCHO poll, so it's already going to be a tough battle for the Bobcats going into that game. You know, Michigan is posting a 29-9-1 overall for this year, and they also beat Minnesota, the #1 in the USCHO at 4-3, and then also beat Notre Dame 2-1, which is #8 at that time. So, you know, they're playing up against these top-ranked teams and beating them. So I think they're going to struggle. But, you know, again, I think it's going to be a battle of, you know, the power play and penalty kill for these two teams because, you know, Michigan is 7th in their power play percentage at 25.7 compared to number 50 for Quinnipiac at 14.6%, you know, and the penalty kill, Quinnipiac obviously #1 in the penalty kill at 91.7%. Michigan's sitting at number 18 at 82.6%. So I think that Quinnipiac just has to capitalize on their power plays and keep that penalty kill alive, and they might be able to test up against Michigan.
So how far do you think they're going to go? Because obviously we've talked about the St. Cloud game and potentially kind of predicted the Michigan game. So I'll ask both of you guys, how far do you think they can go in this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think that they will beat St. Cloud on Friday, but I don't know if they're going to be able to beat Michigan. I mean, the top-ranked teams, they struggle against them, so I just really don't think that they're going to be able to beat Michigan.
I agree with Kaylin. I think also a factor in playing Michigan is how NHL prospect heavy Michigan is. Now, that works in some college and universities' favors, and that works against them in some cases because of chemistry. We saw Ohio State struggle, even though they had Turcotte and Caulfield 2 seasons ago, and Keandre Miller. But this season, Michigan is having a great season. You can see the chemistry's built. They have a lot of great role players underneath those top-level NHL prospects. So I think Michigan's going to be a tough competition, and they're going to have to play 2 games after. If they can have the opportunity to play Michigan, they'll have to play 2 games after that to win the championship. It's time for our first break of the night, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, we will talk about basketball and spring sports.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Greg, come on man, let's put a ride home.
But how can it be prevented? Well, the first step is knowing if you have prediabetes, a serious medical condition that puts you at high risk for type 2 diabetes. 1 in 3 American adults has prediabetes, but more than 80% don't know they have it. The good news is, prediabetes can be reversed, and for many people, healthy changes in their daily routine can make a big difference. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfie, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Greg, come on man, let's put a ride home.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive.
We shift from men's ice hockey to women's basketball. The Bobcats were undersized in a loss to Boston College. Is this a wake-up call for the coaching staff to bring in bigger players if they want to take the next step in consistently making the NCAA tournament?
So first things first, thank you for sticking with us. We are so sorry we had some technical difficulties, but to get into your question, I think that size could be a factor, but height and size, they don't always matter. Rose Caverly is only 5'10", and she had the biggest game of her year up against Boston College. So, I don't think the size necessarily matters. You also have to look at higher ranked teams like, number 3 Manhattan. Manhattan also has smaller women, including Dee Davis, who is 5'8", and they still lost to Manhattan. So, I don't think that the heights make much of a difference.
One of the biggest things when I'm watching basketball is you want someone like a Michaela Morris who's in the paint to get the rebounds and kind of be that paint beast, being able to get it down and then kind of facilitate it out and have your shooters on the wings where they can just pull up and shoot from anywhere. But when you take Michaela Morris off the court, there's not really anyone there to do that, and especially if such an influential player that she's been this season, where she's able to make those plays and do those things, you need someone else who can slide in very easily into that role, and I don't think the Bobcats definitely need someone else to do that, so they definitely need a little bit more size in their team. I don't think it's something to really worry about too much, but it's definitely something to look at, like the question said, for going farther in making it into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I'm still taking that Manhattan kind of situation of they are very evenly matched to Manhattan and still lost to Manhattan. So I don't know how much it's going to make a difference. Also, I just think that their issue was that they clicked at the wrong time. They clicked way, way too early. And it just seemed like they were starting to deteriorate coming into these bigger games to begin with. So I don't necessarily think that height made really any difference in this loss to Boston College.
I feel like it's more of like an intimidation factor, though. That's kind of where I'm going with this.
Understood.
So,
Shifting gears from the women to men's team, who was the reason for Quinnipiac's deep run in the MAC tournament? Kaylin, let's start with you.
Okay. My main one is Jacob Bergoni. I have a couple, but Jacob Bergoni, he had 26 points against Marist, 16 against Siena, kind of tapered out in that last game, which is, I think one of the bigger reasons why they lost and were taken out of the tournament. But, he was hitting 7 to 11 in threes against Marist and 4 to 6 against Siena, two of the biggest games of the year for him. He just kind of lost steam against St. Peter's, shooting only 4 field goals, only 4 field goals and threes, missing all of them. And the only 5 points he got were off of free throws. So I think he was definitely a big one. And then also you have to look at Desi Jones, who had 20 points against Marist and went 11 and 10 respectively in the rest of the matchups. And if you're looking for consistency, it's Matt Blanc always.
yeah, I actually went with Desi Jones as well. He's kind of like the facilitator of this team. He had 32 shots, which is 19% of what the Bobcats shot, but he shot over 15% on those shots. He was very efficient when he was on the court. And let's not forget, he shot 100 from the free throw line, 100%. So he definitely had a very consistent series, and he was able to play that high pick and roll with Kevin Marfo, which he's kind of been known for in this Quinnipiac system. Marfo obviously only getting 21 points in the tournament, but it's still a system that Coach Baker Dunleavy likes to utilize, and he likes to have Desi running that point. As you can see on the screen right now, 4.7 assists. So as a facilitating point guard, he was really good in this series, and I think that's why he was the player that they used so much.
And this team lost to a St. Peter's team that's now making national headlines for their latest victory. We haven't seen the acrobatics team in action for quite some time. With 2 tough matchups remaining against Oregon and Gannon and a 4-2 record, will they finish the season at or above 500 heading into the championship round? Ben.
I'll take this one. So obviously Quinnipiac in their first matchup, they played against Gannon, or had a competition against Gannon. They only lost by 4 points. So that one I think is going to be a toss-up. I kind of go back to it as I think they performed really well. Me and Kaylin were both at the game. And I think one of the things that was a problem there was kind of like the nerves. Obviously, not competing for over 2 years can really get to you. So I think it'll definitely be a very close match between Gannon. And then for Oregon had similar losses to Baylor and Gannon, where they were both a 4 or 5 point toss-up. So I think it's going to be a really close series. But what I love about this team is whenever you go talk to them, they speak so highly of each other, and they have such good camaraderie, because they have to have that. If you're not competing for 2 years, you need to kind of form that team chemistry that you would be able to compete with on the mats, but they're doing it out of it. And it was really good to watch. And that's something that's definitely going to propel them in and get their record up.
Yeah, I definitely think that they're going to finish above 500. I mean, they're 4-2 right now. So I think what they're going to do is I think they're going to lose against Gannon again. They lost against Gannon before, 262 to basically 266. So by 4 points, it was very, very close. So I think they might be able to pull out the win, especially because they've gotten more competition now. As you said, that was their first competition back after 2 years of not having a season. So to go from that, you lost a ton of players. You have a lot of new players who have never competed before. You're going to struggle a little bit. And since it was so close, I think that they might be able to pull out the win, but I'm not too certain. Gannon is a pretty good team. I also think that they will beat Oregon. Oregon is good. They're posting a 1-2 season right now, but they have played, I guess I should say, but they've done less meets than Quinnipiac has. But they lost to Baylor by 6 points, while QU only lost to Baylor by 4 points. So I think that QU could top Oregon.
Ben, you had a great package on them earlier in the year. I can't wait to see the next one.
Thank you.
Now it's time for our second break of the night. When we come back, we have everyone's favorite final roars.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you.
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I think it's just vapor with flavor.
It won't hurt my kid like cigarettes, right? Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
My kid?
My kid knows it's dangerous.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
I don't think that many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer. She's
on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
We'd like to apologize for all the technical difficulties that have gone on tonight. Welcome back. It's time for the QBSN Call of the Week. Instead of Game of the Week, we will be doing a Call of the Week this week. Let's hear what they had to say.
And the puck is now behind the Crimson net as the Harvard team has regained possession. Here's Moore. A pass along to Matthew Coronado. Coronado passes up to Moore once again. Leaves the pass. A shot by Coronado. He scores! Matthew Coronado, the overtime winner. Harvard has taken their first White Law championship since 2017. Harvard is going to the NCAA tournament, and the Bobcats are stunned.
To be honest, Clever, I'm stunned as well. That was a beautiful shot by Matthew Coronado, just right to top shelf. Yanni Peretz could not get a hold of that. There was no stopping that puck, and it is celebrations for Harvard on the ice.
Matthew Coronado, the 13th overall draft pick of his draft class by the Calgary Flames, wins in an overtime for the Harvard Crimson, who will advance to the NCAA tournament.
Some familiar faces there. It's time for Final Roars. Ben, take it away.
For the first time ever, there's a competitive soccer season for Quinnipiac in the spring. And thankfully, since we don't have to wear masks anymore, you can see just how excited I really am about this. All around the world, soccer is played year-round, except at the collegiate level in America. However, it is emerging as a powerhouse with players being pulled from every direction to play at the next level in new leagues. Just look at ex-captain Paulo Suarez, who is playing for a brand new team in a brand new league, the MLS Next League. Now the inaugural Connecticut Cup is trying to do the same thing by showcasing talent at schools from Division I to Division III in a spring tournament to crown a champion of Connecticut. This type of league is a stepping stone in the beautiful game being played all year round. But what does this mean for Eric DaCosta's side? Coming off a season where they failed to qualify for the playoffs after being tipped to steamroll the MAC, it gives him a competitive, fresh environment to inspect his squad. For players on the outside of the rotation, it gives them the opportunity to prove themselves on a big scale. For players who had solidified spots last year, it gives them the opportunity to prove they have progressed and developed during their offseason. This type of format allows for no player to get comfortable in their roles and keeps the players sharp heading into a MAC season where they are fighting for redemption. The extra few months of preparation allow for all the players to get the kinks out, and this squad as a whole, it gives them the opportunity to obtain one thing they so desperately want, a collegiate trophy.
As I finish my final undergraduate year here at Quinnipiac, I have seen the men's hockey team grow and seen some of the best players in history come and go. For the men's hockey senior class, the ones I've known my entire time here, as well as the graduate students who came back for another year, their time is slowly coming to a close. After losing the White Law to Harvard this past weekend, we saw the seniors disappointed not being able to win the ECAC in their time at Quinnipiac. As the captain, Wyatt Bongiovanni, said after the loss, quote, "It hurts. The passion in our locker room, the care factor is second to none. It hurts," end quote. But the team is not done yet. They have the opportunity to take the NCAA by storm and win the national title, something they haven't done yet but have come eerily close to in 2016. This team beat St. Cloud back in 2015 4-1 and have won the last 3 straight. The team can beat St. Cloud again. They just need their offense to click at the right time and find a way to score on the goaltending. As the number 1 defense in the nation, they just have to hold strong in that department. Take it one game at a time.
All season, fanatics were on the edge of those blue seats at the People's United Center in the thicket of harsh winter winds to passionately observe the Bobcats salute the Hamden community to a pep band victory song. Kalen and Ben did a fantastic job covering the AC playoff this weekend, where the Bobcats faced a Harvard team that had stormed back against Clarkson in the quarterfinal to then defeat the Bobcats in overtime. Any shot that can beat Yanni Peretz on a clean look should be categorized as perfect. The Bobcats play the season left no questions around their Frozen Four tournament position. The Bobcats have no confidence victories lying ahead. The ECAC had a lot of middle-of-the-road teams that after a loss to a Frozen Four contending opponent, they could rally behind. It's the best tournament in years, with matchups that include Notre Dame versus North Dakota, Minnesota State versus Harvard, Northeastern versus Western Michigan, and Denver versus UMass Lowell. The Bobcats were for the first time this season will have to string together 4 victories against ranked and conference-leading opponents on the road to a national championship. Campus-wide confidence is in the air for this team. Residing at Quinnipiac the last 3 years, I haven't seen this much support from hockey fanatics and simply spirited students alike that attend this university. As the Bobcats take on the formidable St. Cloud State, no player remains from the Bobcats' 4-1 victory in the tournament semifinal in 2013. Puck drops at 8 p.m. Friday night in Allentown, Pennsylvania. All season makes for opportunities like this. That's all the time we have for tonight, folks. Thank you for sticking with us through the technical difficulties. To stay up to date on all things Quinnipiac sports, be sure to check out our website, Q30TV.com. Also follow us on Twitter at Q30Sports. From the producers, everyone behind the scenes, our analysts, Kaylin and Ben, and I'm your host, Matt Mugno. We thank you for tuning in and wish you a wonderful rest of your Tuesday night. See you next week on Bobcat Breakdown. Good night, folks.